I think that Gen Z students, or at least the students that I'm interacting with, they do see their community as having a lot of anxiety. They do see higher rates of depression, and they want to know why, and they want to know, what they can do to improve the mental well-being within their community. My name is Michelle Burke, and I'm a teaching assistant professor at Stevens Institute of Technology. They are mostly 18 or 19, so they're kind of on that threshold between adolescence and adulthood. And so I think they are interrogating their own childhood, right? And kind of looking back on it and thinking about how their childhood has made them who they are now. And so with that, they do think about things like when they had access to certain technologies, how those technologies impacted their childhood, particularly how those technologies impacted their ability to focus and to learn and to study and to feel good about themselves. I do think that the young women I work with are very aware of how social media has impacted their self-perception and their body image. And that is something they do talk about and that they do actively try to push back against. But it is something that I would say all of them talk about having struggled with in middle school and high school, and maybe now in college they're starting to gain a little more self-confidence around who they are. I do think that the Gen Z students that I'm working with, they are really curious about themselves, and I think that because they do see a lot of mental illness in their generation, they do see struggles in that particular arena. They really want to understand why, so that they can support each other better, but also from a place of, they want to understand themselves better. Yeah, so I always ask my students about their upbringing and like when they got their first smartphone, when they first got access to social media, how they feel about the types of decisions that their parents made. And every time we talk about it, I end with this question, which is, okay, if you have children one day, would you be as strict as your parents, more strict, or less strict? And about half of them say they would be more strict. About half say about the same, and I've never, ever had a student say they would be less strict. The phenomena of adolescents getting access to smartphones and social media, this is something that's only existed since the early 2010s, right? And it takes time to conduct good research studies and for research studies to sort of build upon each other and for some sense of consensus to arise. But I do think that right now we are at the point where we're starting to see more consensus, that there is an impact. If you're looking at 11-year-old, 13-year-olds, they don't have the level of executive functioning that adults do, right? And so their impulse control it's not there yet. And so we really need to guide them slowly and mindfully down this path rather than just, handing a device over and then thinking like, okay, great, my 6-year-old is occupied with his iPad, so I can go cook dinner now. And sometimes that's necessary, but we want to be careful about the kinds of habits and behaviors that we're establishing early.